Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's fun to be here with all of you. Good morning to Benny Gantz, former Minister of Defense, member of Knesset. Hello, important day. And before we begin, I would expect and pray and demand that we continue to bring back the hostages. I call to Netanyahu, don't be afraid, continue to bring them back. Continue to bring them back. It's the most important things. Everything else will be okay, and you'll get all the backing that you need. We'll talk about the hostages. Let's talk about the burning issues. The IDF is concluding the investigations of what happened in Nir Oz. We will read it and we will delve into it. But bottom line, as someone who's headed the Ministry of Defense and the military, can you understand how for many hours terrorists entered a kibbutz inside of Israel time and time again? No terrorist was hit and no soldier was hit? I bow my head in professional shame for what happened on October 7th. For me, this should not have happened, could not have happened, and no doubt that in the base of all this, there's a fundamental intelligence and operational flaw. The reviews will show it this way or that. Inside of everything happening these days, because of the great of the surprise and the size of what happened here, a difficult battle erupted, and it's hard to manage such a battle. There could be misunderstandings. For instance, that forces didn't arrive at Nir Oz, and we will have to hear what happened there. But something that you, when you were Chief of General Staff, did you imagine this in your wildest dreams? The answer is no. No, and we will have to hear what reviews say. But when you conduct after action reviews, there are three levels of questions. What happened? Why did it happen? And how could this have been different? The answers that we would get from the reviews of the IDF, if you ask me, is what will happen, what happened, and why did it happen? And in order to reach the fundamental question of how this have been different, long ago, we should have established a national commission of inquiry that would take this in a serious way, investigate this. Also, me, yours truly, will need to go and explain what happened when you were Chief of General Staff. For me, since Hamas took the reins of Gaza in 2007, this thing has to be reviewed as far as security policy, militarily, force application, opportunities, everything. It's too serious to leave it to the IDF. Now, look, I really value our commanders. I appreciate them. I unfortunately cannot erase October 7th, but I don't want to erase everything that happened before, and I don't want to erase what happened after. And they're honest enough to get up and say where they failed. I expect the government to be brave enough, at least, to establish a national commission of inquiry, if not go to elections. Can IDF investigate itself? I saw Israel Ziv, a major general in reserve. He was on television talking about IDF forces outside of Be'eri kibbutz. People, civilians are being slaughtered, and the forces are waiting outside for an operational picture, for instructions. I see the IDF investigating itself. I remember after the Second Lebanon War, the Chief of General Staff, Dani Chalutz, appointed retired generals like Doron Almog and Yaya. Can the IDF investigate itself? Yes, the IDF can investigate itself. I think this is the quality of the IDF, but also there are enough people. The distance. There's a there's a song in Israel talking about half a dozen generals. Of course, they can be augmented by professionals. I'm telling you about the reviews of the IDF with comments here and comments there. I recommend that we don't give up the national level. I have 23 points. I have a note in my pocket with 23 points. What's the first? First is recalibrating our national security doctrine. Are we going to initiated wars? Preventive wars, you mean? No, no. That's it. What is a preventive war? Preventive war is when you decide to carry out a war. It's a paradox, but it could be. There could be a situation, and I think there should be a situation. If I look at October 7th and the fact that Israel experienced an invasion and conquering of villages that didn't happen since 1948, this we cannot accept moving forward. And for me, when a broad threat is emerging, significant, immediate, that you cannot contain a 24/7 answer, you have to go and initiate actions to thwart, to remove this threat. We carried out action 67 when we knew it's going to happen. We did such with the nuclear sites in Iraq and Syria. We have to make sure that when you are threatened by invasion across the border, you can't let this emerge. Not in Lebanon, not in Gaza, not in Syria, and in collaboration with Egypt and Jordan and the other arenas, and it's very important. So you said this should be reviewed since 2007, from the year that Hamas rose to power. Let's talk about your power, or your role when you were Minister of Defense and Chief of General Staff. For instance, 2014, Protective Edge Operation. We went into Gaza, we maneuvered, ultimately very limited. You know, we're maybe happy with what we achieved back then, but we sustained many casualties. In retrospect, when you look at Protective Edge, did we miss an opportunity? In Protective Edge in 2014, our actions were aligned with the political directive of neutralizing the underground abilities of Hamas and crippling abilities of Hamas in order to restore our deterrence. So the idea was to hurt them and leave a deterred situation. This is where we aimed. The political echelon defined for you what you're supposed to achieve. I just told you what we were ordered. Leave Hamas weakened while neutralizing its strike abilities. Did you have a discourse with the political echelon? Of course we did, including Netanyahu that leaked why to conquer, not to conquer. Nobody wanted to conquer Gaza. Wasn't the directive. Now, I think, and this is something that is way beyond the IDF, that a National Commission of Inquiry can go and ask the fundamental questions, and we need to ask these questions. Look, I'm not escaping responsibility. I think we have to be brave enough to address this question and ask, and it's very clear to me, including after what happened October 7th, because I'm not willing to see another threat emerging, that we can't enable something like this to happen in Gaza. Questions need to be asked. Let's talk about the hostage deal. You addressed this in the beginning. The deal that's unfolding now, and who knows how it's going to continue. Today, in retrospect, in hindsight, when you see what happened in recent months, are you sorry that you left the government? I'm asking because maybe this deal could have happened faster. You see the situation of the hostages coming out. Their lives maybe could have been saved if you would have stayed in the government. Look, I already said that in the first deal, if you remember, the last day wasn't fulfilled, it wasn't implemented. I think this was a mistake. I think we should have brought them out. The considerations, I think, were clean because we thought that since there will be other deals or other frameworks, then it's important that we hold them to their word and go back to fighting. I joined the government, not the coalition, okay, the emergency government, out of a shared understanding of destiny and not politically. I was there for the people of Israel. Netanyahu happened to be there. I didn't go because of Netanyahu, for Netanyahu. I went for the people of Israel, for the soldiers, for the rear, for the hostages, for the villages. And I was there for 8 months, as long as I could influence and as long as the political considerations were not those in the lead. I'm not happy that I'm outside of the government from the point of view that I'm not used to being outside of what's going on when Israel is in trouble. But I couldn't stay there because my influence, anyway, wasn't there. It wasn't existing. So I back up Israel militarily or security-wise, including with the hostages. I back them up with returning back the hostages. I called Netanyahu on the phone personally. I told him that I back him up with bringing back hostages. Now, recently? Yes. And as long as hostages continue to come back, we will back him up in this perspective. And I say again, he doesn't have to be afraid. He simply needs to continue bringing back the hostages. It's the most important strategically, value-wise. It will give us operational considerations. By the way, what did you feel from him? And he expressed his positive view that I'm strengthening. Did you feel that he's going to go all the way? Back then he said yes. This is when phase 1 was implemented. And I hope that he continues this way or other. What should we do now if it's up to you? What price should we pay? We need to continue with this framework of bringing back the hostages. There are many hostages. Operational circumstances can enable operations, but mostly it will be this kind of deal, something that is possible. Netanyahu and the other people, they see the intelligence, they know what can be done, they need to know that we need to bring them back and do whatever you can to bring the hostages back home. All the rest will be postponed. I said this long ago. The story in Gaza, when I entered the government, I told the cabinet, the people that will fight in Gaza did not even are not in the ninth grade. The struggle in Gaza to change the Hamas regime, to dismantle the military abilities, to demilitarize the Gaza Strip and restore security. And I'm telling you, as a resident of Yad Mordechai, ultimately this will take a long time. The hostages don't have that time. We need to pull them out as fast as possible, the sooner the better. If we could do it in one time, the best. We'll deal with everything later on. Let's try to speak for a moment about the day after. If this somehow is enabled, and a third country agrees somehow to accept the residents of Gaza, are you for the program of Trump of willing immigration? I said that this program is creative from the fact that it offers a solution that wasn't brought up earlier. Everything that we tried before didn't work. Okay? If the people are willing or they want to leave and it's able and enabled, of course it's good. And we should know if it works or not anyhow. In my view, in any case, we don't need to rule Gaza. We're not willing that Hamas will rule Gaza. I think that we have a chaotic decade ahead in Gaza with many humanitarian challenges, with heightened security all around, with the need to act security-wise inside of Gaza, with humanitarian assistance that will need to go in until something emerges that they can live with, and we can live beside it. When this happens, we'll be able to talk about de-radicalization and other things. The PA, the Palestinian Authority, should it, this way or other, be part of the day after on the Gaza Strip? I think the Palestinian Authority cannot, at this time, rule Gaza because it cannot even realize its responsibility in Area A, in Judea and Samaria. So look, I told my friends, my son fought in Gaza, then he moved to Jenin, then in the north. So what is he doing in Jenin? This is Area A. This should be the Palestinian Authority, right? So the Palestinian Authority needs a rehaul, needs reforms, need to take its responsibility seriously, and then they'll be able to assume other responsibilities. Right now, it doesn't have capabilities. So sadly, I say, we have a decade of chaos. There will be chaos. People are talking about peace with Saudi Arabia, Trump's plan. You talk about a window of opportunity that is slowly closing with Iran. What do you think about this? I think we need, on the one hand, to step up pressure on Iran. In what way? From financial, political, military preparations until physical action. There are three phenomena that we need to notice in this war. Look, Sinwar did something that rationally he should not have done, because you saw what happened to Gaza. But he did it. Because for him, the fatalistic, jihadistic view overcame the regular rationale. So we can't agree to a threat of invasion. All the rings of fire have been launched at Israel at all arenas and all distances, and we need to be prepared. The fundamentalist consideration cannot lead to a totalitarian fundamentalist regime in Iran that holds a nuclear weapon. Why? Because a different rationale can lead them to operate it. So we cannot let it emerge. We cannot enable nuclear weapons. We need to deal with it. So just like we have very good accomplishments militarily in all the arena, including in Lebanon, including what happened in Syria, including exposing Iran strategically, we cannot enable Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. This is as far as neutralizing threats. As far as opportunities, we need to strive to a deal with Saudi Arabia, because if we can have a combined camp Just like the Middle East air defense thwarted Iranian threats on Israel, we can reach a Middle East area defense throughout the region with the Saudis, and I think we need to push for this. In conclusion, politics. Can you beat Netanyahu? Do you have the force, the power? Do you want enough? Look, 6 years inside the political arena. Everything was tried to. You tried to stick things to me. Various theories about me. I am determined to continue. Do you want enough to beat Benny Gantz? What do you think I'm doing for 6 years and fighting for the state of Israel? And I'm telling the people here and those watching at home, the state of Israel must get out of this situation of one bloc fighting another bloc. We know we have to go back to the people, go back to elections. We have to establish a wide government, leave the extremists on this side and on that side on the sidelines, and in a combined way to go forward to maintain the state of Israel, Jewish, democratic, safe, protected, liberal, and we can do this and we will do it. And now the last question, truly. You insisted on this. I thought we can do without it, but you wanted this question. If you see polls that give you more votes if Gadi Eisenkot leads your party, will you move a step aside? Gadi is a great partner. We do everything together. Give me another party that we do it together. No other party. You say Yair and, not Bibi and, Avigdor and, Bennett and. Here, Benny Vegadi. We work together. We're a team. I established, I lead, and I'm going to continue to lead. Former Minister of Defense and Chief of General Staff, Member of Knesset, Benny Gantz, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Look, this is a sad day. I'm going now to the funeral of Lifshitz. Tomorrow, the funeral of Biba's family. The most maybe troubling image, sad image of this war. We need to strengthen the families of the bereaved families, the families of the hostages and the IDF, those that were murdered. Also in the north, we need to bring the residents back to their homes. We must unite and move forward, and we can do it. Thank you very much.